Thanks, Deanne. We're going to have Charlene.
Do you want to come here?
Hello, wonderful people in Fredricton, New Brunswick.
Yeah.
It's awesome to see this great group of people that have gathered here today to stand for freedom.
Freedom.
If you don't know me, my name is Charlene Blakeney-Robichaud, and I have been standing for our seniors for more than a year now. Last winter, I was in front of City Hall in Moncton week after week, sometimes walking the street when we had to avoid being fined for just standing in front of City Hall, with a sign that said, our seniors who are dying are not being protected from dying just COVID, but they're dying of a lot of other things. And then in February, I got to feel what that was like personally. When I got a call on February 9th that my mom, who was a perfectly healthy senior, she had dementia and arthritis, but that was all. She was very healthy. And I got a call on February 9th that said your mother had stopped eating just 2 days before, and I needed to be prepared that she might be in palliative care the next day. The doctor was going to see her the next day, and when he saw her, he called me afterwards. He said, I checked your mom thoroughly. Her heart, lungs, stomach are all functioning perfectly fine. Her thyroid levels are all perfectly fine. There is no medical reason for your mother's decline. I said, it sounds to me like the effects of too much isolation. The doctor said, I agree. Later on, I talked to the RN who was looking after my mom. I told her the same thing. She's also said, I agree.
That's right.
My mother was put in palliative care that afternoon, and the next day, on the 11th of February, I finally got to see her for the first time since Christmas because of our government.
Yeah.
Shame.
When I did, the difference in my mother on those few weeks was shocking and astounding. That a body could be that much frailer from just not being able to have human contact. It's criminal what they're doing to our seniors. They are not protecting our seniors.
Criminal.
Take care of our seniors. During the time that I was there, 4 days, I had multiple staff who came into my mom's room with me to check on my mom, bring her water. She wasn't eating anymore, and they were offering me condolences and sharing with me how heartbreaking it was for them as they were watching the demise of several of the residents in the home. And unofficially, I was given a number by more than one person of seniors who had died just since January 1st last year to when my mother passed on the 14th. In 6 weeks, there were almost as many seniors who died from effects of isolation in one New Brunswick residential home as opposed to the entire province of New Brunswick of COVID. 6 weeks. On the 14th of February, I had the privilege of being there with her, although I had to be alone. I was there with her for the beautiful moments when she took her last breath and took her journey to heaven to spend her first Valentine's Day with my dad in 23 years. So my poster that said, our seniors dying of heartbreak and loneliness are still dying, it's true. They're dying. They're not dying of COVID, but they're dying of everything else. Now, this year, You're probably hearing lots of stories of senior homes where we're having cases showing up. And my mother-in-law's home is one of them. My mother-in-law isn't one who uses the phone anymore. She's in her 90s. She's beginning with dementia. She never calls. But after a few days of being locked down in her senior's home, she called my sister-in-law to say, "Could you please come and visit me? I'm so lonely." It was a matter of days. A couple days later, she went to the front door of the facility and said, "I want out. If my family can't come in here to visit, I want out." Sadly, she can't leave, but the fact is, they don't want to be there. Who wants to live their last days isolated alone in a room, even eating their meals alone?
It's criminal!
It is absolutely criminal. Is it okay that our seniors are dying from the effects of isolation?
No!
Is it okay if our seniors are depressed and want to commit suicide? Is it okay if our seniors with dementia die? I think install fear in the general population, because fearful people are much easier controlled.
That's right!
And fearful people will continue to take the offered injections.
Yes, they will. Because they're scared.
Lastly, I'd like to compare just a little with the Hong Kong flu pandemic of 68-69 from a New York Post article that was written May 16, 2020. There were few precautions taken during the H3N2 Hong Kong pandemic, other than washing hands and staying home when sick. Of note, 69 is the summer that the Woodstock Festival took place, resulting in no flu outbreaks. Those who had H3N2 describe a health battle that sounds very similar to COVID. The coughing and difficulty of breathing were the worst. Life continued as normal, said Jeffrey Tucker, the editorial director from the American Institute for Economic Research. People mainly went on with their lives. That generation approached viruses with calm, rationality, and intelligence, he said. We left disease mitigation to medical professionals, individuals, and their families, rather than politics, politicians, and government.
That's right.
That's right!
That's right.
There was no media coverage, or very little media coverage. People didn't care. Tucker remembers being taught as a child in the 60s, as I do, that getting viruses ultimately strengthens one's immune system. It was like the pandemic that hadn't even happened if you look at our history books, he said. I am still shocked at how different people addressed or maybe even ignored it in '68 compared to 2020. The idea that a pandemic could be controlled with social distancing and public lockdowns is a relatively new one, said Tucker. It was first suggested by a study in 2006, and two government doctors, not even epidemiologists, Richard Hatcher and Carter Mercer, who worked for the George W. Bush administration, hatched the idea of using government-enforced social distancing and hoped to try it out with the next virus. We are, in effect, Tucker said, part of a grand social experiment. An experiment to control with fear. Fear is a liar. Fear causes division and hate. When we push the fear aside, we're able to think more clearly, and we're able to come together in love. And when we come together in love, together, we win!